What's going on, guys? Welcome to GIFD Lifestyle. We have again with us Franco Santoiello. So, Franco, I have been butchering your name pretty much my whole life until I finally was typing it. I was like, I think I've been pronouncing it wrong. Santoiello, correct?
Yeah, it's easy, Jerry. All you got to do is say Santor and then the color yellow.
Santoiello.
Santoiello.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think I've been saying Santoiello the whole time because I heard it pronounced that way back in, when I was younger, and I kind of latched onto that, which I'm also dyslexic. So when I read, a lot of times I read things different. Really, it's very interesting how many people that have done drugs in the past have had, things with their parents, like you had things with your dad, so did I. Dyslexia, had attention deficit disorder. There's a lot of things that we medicate for. So welcome back, and thank you so much for taking the time and being back again.
It's good to be back, Jerry. Very good to be back, man. It's a pleasure to be with you today again.
We had a great response to the last one. A lot of people that did remember you, of course. A lot of people that were like, wow, they were younger, and they're like, I never heard of him, but this is great. I can't wait to hear the rest of it, So I think we left off with a lot of the bodybuilding stuff, which people found interesting. But, the part that I want to get into now is where you wound up going to prison and like how that whole thing went down, what it was for, etc. And then the point in prison where you came to that coming to I don't know what you would call it, not epiphany, but I guess saving. It would be when you were saved. I guess that's correct.
Saving grace, Jesus, right? When I surrendered my life and said, I can't do this no more. I wanted to die, Jerry. But I said to God, I remember, we'll get back. We'll get to that in a minute because that's a good story. But let's talk about what the heck.
So how you
got a brain fart there? Leading up to going to prison. That's where we were going. Yeah. Right. So check it out, Jerry. I think I mentioned to you at the end of my addiction, I was morbidly obese, walked with a cane, and I was pretty much all down and out. I had lost everything. I was unemployable and almost homeless and suicidal, very suicidal, addicted to drugs. Well, remember, when I was making a lot of money, I told you about all that money I made in my career. But after the devil got a hold of me, he stole, killed, and destroyed me. When I say he stole, killed, and destroyed, he stole my identity. I was no longer Franco the pro bodybuilder. I was now Franco the drug addict, has been, could have been, should have been, right? And he destroyed everything good in me, and he took my life twice from a heroin overdose and a massive heart attack. Did we talk about that?
We did. We talked about the heart attack, not the heroin overdose. We talked about the heart attack and how your son actually found you.
I was 30 years old. Back when I was training for the Night of Champions, the last show I did in my career, I was, I think, 30 years old, yeah. And I think there was like 35 competitors, and I took 17th, and I was a full-blown heroin addict. Wow. I was shooting 2 bundles of dope a day.
Wow.
Crazy, man. I was a fool.
You overdosed?
So, yeah, anyway, now at this point in my life, I ain't got no money. I'm pretty much on, support from the state, food stamps. And but what I did to get my drug, I'm still a drug addict, so I got to get my dope. So I had to use my dope fiend mind to figure out a way to get my dope. So what I was doing is I had some pain in my back, and I was on methadone for a while. You know what I mean? I was just kind of like skating by in life. But then I'm in a methadone line, and this guy's talking about pills. He goes, man, I wish I could get a hold of some Perk 30s. I'm like, well, dude, I could go to New Jersey right now and get you 120 Perk 30s. He goes, yeah, I'll give you $15 a pill for it. I'm like, let's go. So I called my doctor in Jersey. He's like, man, I made an appointment. I had him drive me out there from Cincinnati and came back and sold him. I didn't even do any at the point. I was still on methadone. I made some good money because I was poor. We were poor. We were poor. We lived in an apartment, Jerry, had no furniture. All I had was a TV, an air mattress for me, and a queen mattress for my 8-year-old son and his mother. That was the life I gave my family, Jerry.
Wow.
It was bad, man. The apartment hadn't even been cleaned for a year. It was nasty, and it was bad. So we went and got those pills. Now, I was like, wow, I got them pills in Jersey. I got a doctor. I used to be able to get some pain pills from, 5 years ago. Let me try going back to him and seeing if I could pull this off here.
Yeah.
Man, I went to my doctor. I walked out with 90 Xanax and 120 Percocet. I'm doing that for a couple months. And next thing you know, I'm making an appointment with a friend of mine's doctor in Indiana. Same thing. Now, between my wife and I, we're getting 720 Perc 30s a month and like 540 Xanax. And we're doing most of it, but we're selling a lot of it too.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, they call it doctor shopping.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Now I was doing this for about 9 months to 10 months, and I was wrapped in it, up into it, and I knew what I was doing, Jerry, was wrong. Okay, but when you're an addict and you're addicted, you don't stop.
It's not you. You turn
don't
into something totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think about how wrong it is. You just think about getting that next pill or that next bag of dope so you can stay normal. You don't even get high no more. It's crazy. You know, you did that, right? You said.
Yep. I was up to I'd shoot a bundle at a time at one point. I was literally shooting a bundle at a time. Yeah, and we were getting stuff that was
holy.
We had
crazy, baby.
we had it was called China White at the time. It was coming from New York, New Jersey. It was like 99% pure. And I'd whack 10.
New Jersey?
Yeah, that's where it was.
Is that where you got? That's where I got my dope when I was shooting dope when I was 30.
Yep, it was all
the dope bag of dope that killed me. Yeah. I think that's what it was.
That's crazy. The stuff again, usually they came in little blue bags. They didn't actually have stamps on them. They were like little blue bags.
Yeah.
And these things, like I started out with like a half a bag that would really loop me for quite a while. And by the end of my addiction, I was you were completely out of it. And that was I moved from the Oxycontin and Nubane to the heroin. But at the end, we were literally shooting bundles at a time. Me and my ex, like she was a little girl, and she would shoot half a bundle at a time. Like that's how big our tolerance was.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. How crazy it is. So, anyways, we're going around, from New Jersey to Ohio to Indiana, getting these pills every month. I mean, I'm running my family. We're taking my wife because I got her getting pills out there too now in New Jersey. And we're putting my son in the car. This is the kind of a piece of poop I was, man. And I'm dragging my 8-year-old kid in a car out to Jersey every month just so we could go get our dope. Well, let me just say that same boy now is on scholarship in college because when I got out of prison, my vision was to get out and be the father that God called me to be to that point and raise him up in the ways of the Lord and turn him into a real man. And he's doing amazing, man. He's working his way to college and he's got scholarship. He's a little brainiac. He's a nerd. He's not like his dad, man. He's got the genetics, but he never applied them, man. So anyways, we're doing this. And I know that, I know I'm going to go to prison. I ain't got busted yet, but I know it's going to happen sooner or later because I knew I wasn't going to stop doing what I was doing. And I wasn't a good dope dealer, man, because I was my best customer. So I got really messy, man, when I'm selling my pills. And like I said, I was probably at the point I was doing about 10 perk 30s a day and probably about 5 or 6 Xanax just to be normal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Never got high no more. So, I knew, like I said, I got sloppy. And next thing I know, one of the girls I'm selling to, she gets busted. She's like, yeah, I got a guy. You want to get somebody? I got a guy for you. So she turned me over to them. She made a buy, turned me in. One day, my wife and my son and I are getting in the car to go to Walmart to get some groceries with our food stamps, of course. And we get in the car, we backing out of the driveway. And, bro, there's 8 cops. Draw 'em, bam. Pull up to my window, and I'm like, oh, I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Holy crap. You know what I mean? So
did your wife know?
I get out of the car. They start just pat us down and all that. They take us up to the house. They start questioning us. They wanted, because they knew that day I got a bottle of pills. But the crazy thing is it was my prescription. You know what I mean? So they didn't, they was trying to they just wanted to get my pills. Well, that night, they searched my apartment all over. They couldn't find my pills because you know what? I was a fool, man. I hid them in the bottom box of a cereal. Because I was hiding from my wife because she would get them. She was doing them. You know what I mean? She was bad. So finally, he's like, dude, we're gonna find your pills. So you just tell us where they are. We're gonna wreck this place. I'm like, man, look in the bottom of the cereal, man. You know what I mean? So, that night they took everything we had. They went through everything. They took all of our dope, our pills, everything we had, all of our money, and left us with a half a bottle of NyQuil. Man, I was sick for 3 weeks. I thought I was going to die. I kicked up a good half a dozen times. Yeah. But it was this withdrawal was worse than anything because I was all looped up on Xanax. Like, you can't die from a heroin or opiate withdrawal, but you can die from a Xanax withdrawal. Yeah. The benzos. Yeah. So, when I was crashing on that, man, I was a hot mess, bro. I was like sick. I couldn't even walk for 3 days. I couldn't even get out of it. I was such a mess. And my gosh, it was bad news. Well, finally, after about 3 weeks, I just kept thinking to myself, became very suicidal, Jerry. I was just like, I can't do this, man. I can't take this pain. I can't take this anxiety. I can't take this depression. Because all I would think about, now that I got all the dope out of me, now I could feel. Right. You know what I mean? I could start to feel all the pain and suffering and all that. I wasn't numb no more. And I was like, man, I just want to die. Started getting suicidal, and they admitted me to a hospital. I spent 10 days in a mental ward for suicidal tendencies. I came out of that, long story short, we moved out to Ohio. I mean, not to Ohio. We moved out to Arizona from Ohio because I thought, man, let's get out of Ohio. What the crazy thing was is they came and took all my stuff, but they didn't arrest us because they didn't have anything to arrest us on. They just had a warrant for my stuff, and they wanted to get that. And then they had to go prove their case and collect evidence and all that so they can indict me. Well, it was 9 months later, and I never got indicted.
Wow.
So I told my ex-wife, I said, hey, let's go to Arizona where your mother lives out there. So we moved out there. We were sleeping in the floor in her storage unit. Now this is me. I mean, that's what I put my family through, sleeping on a storage unit in the floor, you know what I mean? And we were out there for about a year, and finally, I was driving my son. I finally got some money from my mom because she would send me money for my kid to, buy him a toy or something. I told him, I said, hey, buddy, come on. You want to go to Toys R Us and get that game you've been asking me for? And he was all excited. We got in the car, man. We're driving down the highway. I get off the wrong exit. I'm like, man, I got off the wrong exit. So I just, I was like, well, I saw a light. I'm like, well, I didn't see any cars coming really, but I was all doped up anyways. And like, by this time, I'm not like doing my thing anymore. So I'm just getting a little bit of pills and like a Vicodin and a Xanax I might have been on. But anyways, I was high enough that I went through the light, clipped the car, got back on the highway. I'm like, oh no, man, bad news. Holy. So I back to the house on taking the back roads, parked the car in the driveway, walked in, told my ex-wife, I'm like, I felt so bad for my son, man. He just wanted to get that game. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, baby, we can't get that game right now. We got to go, man. He's like, all right, Dad. All right. So we run back. I go and I tell my ex-wife, I said, hey, look, man, I hit your mom. I hit the car with your mom's car. She goes, is it all right? I said, yeah, it's just got a little dent. Come here, I'll show you. So we walk out to the car, and there's a cop sitting by the car. And he goes to me, he goes, you driving that car? And I said, yes, sir. And at that moment, Jerry, it's like I knew I was going away. You know what I mean? I knew it was about to come about me. It was almost like a relief. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I always knew something was going to come of that. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't get arrested. I mean, in the back of my head, I was hoping, well, maybe they didn't have evidence. But, I knew. He goes, so he arrests me for a hit and run, and he running my information. He goes, you got a drug warrant in the state of Ohio. He goes, you're actually the #1 wanted person in Butler County. Wow. I'm like, I told him, I said, well, I didn't know that, sir, but I kind of got a feeling where that's coming from. Yeah. He goes, I got to take you in. So he took me to Maricopa County in Phoenix, Arizona, Joe Arpicchio's jail. You ever heard about Joe Arpicchio? No. Oh, he is. He's the worst sheriff in the country, man, to be in it. We're his jails, man. He dresses you up in stripes and makes you wear pink underwear and feeds you horse slop for, it was awful. So I spent 3 weeks in the county jail out there, and then they extradited me to Ohio. I spent a couple months in my county. I remember I was hoping and wishing that I would get like my mom's like, because I've never been in trouble before, Jerry, man. I never got I got speeding tickets, but I never got to spend a day in jail. Right. So I was thinking, well, this is my first offense. Maybe I'm just going to get like drug court or, maybe like a year in the county jail. I'm not going to go to prison. Yeah. That's what my mom is telling me, you know what I mean? But my stepfather was real with me. He goes, you got 8 felony 2 counts on you're looking at. And they all carry a 3 to 8 year sentence. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the numbers in my head. I'm like, that's 64 years, man. Right. All I was doing was getting some, So but still, it's your first case. I didn't have no money for a lawyer, so I had to get a public defender. A public pretender. Right. So I got my public. So we go to court anyways. I'm in there. I'm in the county, and we're going back and forth to court. And finally, I go in there, and he's like, listen, man, you got to. And I'm still in my heart, I'm hoping that I'm going to get this drug court or, get out, because I didn't want to go to prison. I thought but you know what, Jerry, man, God knew what he was doing the whole time. He's like, here's what I got for you. He goes, if you plead to this 2 counts, they're going to take the 8 counts, drop it to 2, and they're going to give you 3 years on a 3 to 8 year, and they're going to run them concurrent. So now 64 years turn into 3 years because they ran them together. He goes, all you got to do is sign here. I said, give me that pen, man. Yeah. Signed it. Went in there, went before the judge, pleaded to my sentence, got my 3 year mandatory sentence. Okay. put me back in my county jail. A couple weeks later, they shipped me off to CRC, which is the Corrections Reception Center, where you spend about a month there, and then that's where they kind of like evaluate you for gang tattoos. They give you all kinds of medical tests and just do a bunch of DNA things on you. And then there's 50 prisons in the state of Ohio, and you get sent to a parent institution from there. So I've been there for a month, and I got a few different bunkies that come in my cell and spend time with me. We're talking about, all these different jails, and these guys, I kind of said, I've never been in jail before. Now I'm in jail. I'm in this CRC, and I'm shot out, bro. I mean, I'm a mess, man. Now I know I'm going to prison for 3 years. And like I said, man, I wasn't nobody no more, man. I had lost everything good in me. I was hopeless. I was broken. I didn't feel worthy of anything, man. All I could think about was, man, what happened to me? What the heck? But the last place they're talking about, the one jail you don't want to go to is Noble Correctional Institution. They call it the Gladiator Camp. When you get off the bus, man, you better be ready to fight, because you got to fight for your survival. Jerry, man, I couldn't beat my way out of a wet paper bag at the time, man. I wasn't the bodybuilder, bouncer, the guy that used to get in fights every day on the Jersey Shore and used to take people out. I wasn't that guy no more, Jerry. Yeah. I was weak, man. I was broken and weak, man. I couldn't do 2 push-ups. I told you when I went to a grocery store, I had to get in a buggy, a little electric buggy to get around, man. I had no physical strength whatsoever. So I'm like, man, I'm in trouble. I don't want to go to a Noble Correctional Institution. Well, I remember one morning they slipped that paper underneath the door, and I picked it up and I had my name on it. You know what it said?
Noble Correctional
Institution. I about pooped my pants, man. I was like, oh my God, I gotta go to Noble. I was dying, bro. So I remember, I'm like, oh man. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, can it get any worse? Well, let me tell you this. It can get worse, because now that I'm getting ready to go to Noble, now everybody's telling me about when you get to Noble, you got to walk across the yard to get to the dorm, your intake dorm, where they, get you off the bus. They put you in a little room and they strip search you and they do this stuff and they give you this steel box. You got to carry 2.4. They're going to give you a steel box and some clothes, and you got to carry them about 100 yards across the prison yard up into the stairs into this dorm. Now, meanwhile, for the week or so before they picked us up to take us to Noble, all I could think about was, am I going to be able to carry that box? Because everybody's telling me, man, if you can't carry that box, if when you get there and everybody's on the yard, depends on when you get there, because they got yard time. So if all the inmates are out in the yard, when all the newbies come in and they take the walk of shame down there, if they're going to be out there hassling you, man, don't drop your box. I'm like, well, this box must be hard to carry, man. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I used to be able to bench 500 pounds. I could curl 95-pound dumbbells like it was nothing, bro. I squatted 740 pounds. I was a powerful bodybuilder, man. I was strong. Not no more, man. Yeah. Not no more, Harry. I wasn't strong at all. I had no strength whatsoever. No hope, and nothing but a broken spirit, bro. I remember when I got in that room and I saw them boxes, man, I was looking at them boxes with fear, wondering, am I going to be able to get that box across the yard? Well, meanwhile, they take me in there, they do my dimensions, they take my height, my weight, and they give me a pair of pants that were 10 inches too big, Jerry, and they didn't even give me a belt. So you can imagine what's going to happen now. And I'm looking at that box, and am I going to be able to get that? Wait a minute. They get everybody ready. They all go out in the yard. I'm in the back of the line, bro. They all get there. All these men grab their boxes, hoist them up on their shoulder, and walk across the yard like it's nothing. Well, I figured, let me follow suit. I pick the box up, put it on my shoulder. What happens?
You dropped
Jerry,
it. You didn't tell me you dropped it.
No, the pants are 10 inches too big.
Oh, the pants fell. Shit.
My pants fall down in the middle of the yard. Everybody was on the yard. I didn't get lucky. Everybody was in the dorms. Right. Everybody was on the yard, hackling, yelling, don't drop your box. And Mom's standing there in my underwear. So it's like, man, what do I do? So I put the box down. I pick the pants up. I hold on to them. So now, but the handles on the box were only about this big. Could you see that?
Yeah.
There was not big handles that you could grasp onto. Yeah. They was about that big. The handles was too small. My pants was too big, and I had no strength. So it took everybody else about a minute and a half to get across that yard up in their dorm. It took me 20 minutes, man. Holy shit. If you ever read my book, the introduction to my book is the box. It's the story about what I went through, the humiliation and the pain I went through. Mr. Professional bodybuilder who graced the cover of magazines, had TV commercials, and was world famous. Now can't carry his pathetic prison box across the yard, bro. Man, it was the worst 20 minutes of my life.
Unreal.
Humiliation. Everybody's like, and I was a fat boy. Everybody's like, don't drop your box, fat boy, fat boy. And they're all laughing at me. And man, I'm their entertainment, bro.
Yeah.
So they're laughing at me, making fun of me. I'm trying to get that box across the yard, and I'm dropping it. I mean, literally took me 20 minutes to walk 70 yards. I get to the stairs, and I got 300 guys behind me just laughing and drilling me. And, dude, now, meanwhile, I was out of shape. I couldn't even walk 10 yards on my own before, and I'm trying to hoist this box, and my heart was pounded, man. It was like I thought I was going to have a heart attack, man. I was sitting there. I had to go up the stairs, and I'm just like, I get up a stair, my pants drop, I drop the box. I get up another stair, my pants drop, I drop the box. I ain't getting nowhere, bro.
Yeah.
Finally, I don't know what happened, but one of the inmates had some compassion and tapped me on the shoulder and said, bro, can I take that box for you? And it was like Simon at the cross when he carried Jesus' cross, you know what I mean? And I said, yes, bro, please, thank you. And he carries my box. I'm probably the only man that ever had to have somebody carry his box up the stairs. I don't know. He carries my box up to the stairs. I get into the prison. I get the box to my rack, and I laid in my rack for 30 minutes waiting for my heart to stop pounding because I thought I was going to die again from another heart attack. I'm just laying there like, man, I'm going to tell somebody soon to get the paramedics because I'm dying. I'm just felt like I was going to die with the anxiety and the horror. It was horrible, man, horrifying.
Now, were you going through withdrawals at this time also?
No, because I already had been locked up for 3 weeks in Maricopa County, and I was in the county for a couple months, so that crap was all out of my system.
But you do feel very weak when you're done with withdrawals. You feel super like a kitten, like so weak.
It wasn't just weak, man, but the depression and everything's just pile on. Let me keep going with the story, Jerry, because it gets worse, bro. Wow. Can it get any worse? Heck yeah. Oh, man, let me tell you. So I laid in my rack, and finally they get me into the – and this is the beginning of God having his hand on me through my whole prison sentence, okay? Because I could have got sent to any dorm where there's a lot of fighting going on. But then they got this little place called the honor dorm, where if you get in the honor dorm, you got some privileges, and you want to stay out of trouble in there because you don't want to get kicked out. So I get sent to one of these other dorms, and one of the guys in the dorm was like, man, you need to go talk to Mr. Gray, bro. He goes, oh, gee, you don't need to be in here, man. You need to try to get in that honor dorm. Now, meanwhile, it takes like 6 months to get on the waiting list to get in there. Mm-hmm. You got to get no tickets. You got to earn your way in there. I went down there. I knocked on the guy's door, Mr. Gray. He's now the warden at Belmont, the biggest prison in the state of Ohio. And he tells a story about how broken I was because I went back to Belmont and spoke there. And I've been back to my prison and spoke there on the prison yard, speaking about Jesus. All jacked up too, baby.
Damn, how big are your arms still?
Huh?
How big are your arms still? Yeah, have you measured those recently? They got looked at least 20 inches, yeah?
I don't know. There's some right there, 18 and a half maybe.
Damn, dude.
I don't know. I don't care about that.
But not even trying anymore. Yeah, I get it, man. After you go through that stuff, you don't even care about how big your arms are anymore.
Yeah. So I care about how big my heart is. You know what I mean? In a good way. So I got to tell you a story, though. I went back to prison today and worked these guys out, did one of my old prison workouts. I haven't done one in 5 years, and I smoked them. And these guys were – because I know how to draw on my strength. Now I'm pretty strong, and I do my cardio, but I haven't done that kind of a workout in a long time.
Yeah.
But anyways, long story. Let me get back to where we were. So I'm in prison. I go down, I knock on the door to the guy. I'm like, hey, can I get on the waiting list to get into the honor dorm? And he's like, yeah, sure, and we get to talking, and I tell him my name, and he's like, man, I remember a bodybuilder by the name of Franco Santoiello. And I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, that's me. He looked at me, he was like, no, really? I'm like, yeah, bro, that's me. He looks him up online, he looked at me, he's looking at it, he goes, man, I don't know, I don't, doesn't look like you. Yeah. I'm like, Cat, it's me. And he's looking at me, he goes, and he's seen a tattoo on my arm. I said, and he looked at a tattoo and one of the old ads I did, and he's like, yeah, man, it's you. I said, I know. So anyways, the guy took a liking to me, you know what I mean? We had a nice conversation, and he felt bad. I guess a day later, I get called down to the honor dorm, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, God had his hand on me the whole time. he got me in the honor dorm. So I'm like, oh, this is beautiful, man. I don't have to worry about getting my butt kicked. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, man. After I got back in shape, I could take care of myself. But at that point, I'm telling you, I couldn't beat my way out of a wet paper bag, Jerry. That's how bad a shape I was in. So I get in the honor dorm. I'm there about 6 weeks. Now, meanwhile, I told you I'm hopeless. Okay? Really hopeless, really broken, full of anxiety and full of depression. And I'm in my rack. I get to my rack assignment for 6 weeks, Jerry. I laid in my rack, watched TV a little bit, but I had kept the blanket over my head most of the time, and just sat there and asked myself, what happened to me?
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, I'm in prison. You know what I mean? My son's out there, and I lost everything. I used to be somebody, man. I had potential to be the best in the world. You know what I mean? I had, a magazine. I mean, and I kept saying, what happened to me? I mean, I'm in prison. I got to do this for 3 years. I did 6 weeks of full depression and hopelessness. And I didn't feel like I could do another day of it, man. I'm like, I can't do this for another day. I'm exhausted. I'm depressed. I'm broken, man. And all I could think about is not wanting to live, Jerry. And I remember laying in my rack, and I'm just asking God. I'm like saying to God, I'm like talking to him now. You know what I mean? I'm like, Lord, I know that you're real, I got saved. I told you I got saved like 24 years ago. Did I tell you that?
Yep.
When I took the PO slide. Yeah. I said, Lord, I gave my heart to you 24 years ago, man. I go, what went wrong? And I just said, Lord, please help me. I said, I can't do this anymore. And all of a sudden, I say it like this. The Lord's like, oh, now you want my help, huh? I've been waiting to give you help for 30-some years, Bucci. I told you my nickname is Bucci.
Right.
It's the name my dad gave me. My nickname, but and God could call me Bucci too if he wants, but you just call me Franco, all right? So he goes, Bucci, man, I've been waiting for all these years for you to ask me for help. He goes, I love you and I want to help you. And in that moment, man, when I explained, like I felt like my hands were cuffed and I was drowning in quicksand, you know what I mean? And I was about to take my last breath before I was suffocating and died. And when I cried out for help, at that moment, I mean, it was just like somehow, like the shackles were broken and I was able to reach my hand up out of the quicksand. And it was like God took his mighty hand down from heaven and grabbed mine and pulled my hand up out of the quicksand. And he said, I got you, Bucci. I got you. Hold on to me. Hold on. And I was like, that day, see, God's hand was the light, love, and hope that this hopeless man needed to survive one more day. Something when I cried out to God, it was like I had this moment of like, you know what I mean? That help was coming. Help was on the way.
You felt it.
I felt something, man. I felt something. But immediately, my brother, the one who took me to church those years back, those decades ago, when he took me to church and see me get saved, he said to me, because see, that day I asked God to help me and I cried out, said I quit. See, that day I turned my life really over to him. See, I never wanted to turn my life over before because I wanted a savior. I didn't want anybody to lord over my life. Right. See, I couldn't take care of my life anymore. And God said, well, before you take your life, give it to me and let me see what we can do with you. Okay. So I gave my life to Jesus, that I truly made him the Lord over my life. So he was not just my savior anymore. Now he's my Lord. He was my master, my king. But immediately my brother, 20-some years ago, used to tell me when I got saved, he goes, now look, Booch, Frankie, you got to read the Bible now. He goes, you just can't get saved. It ain't just like magic and this life's going to get better. He goes, you got to read the Bible because God's going to show you how to live. And, when you read God's word, see, Jesus is the written word. And when you read the Bible, it's going to give you strength. And see, if you want to get delivered from drug addiction, if you just dig into Jesus, you'll get delivered. You'll be set free. And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, brother. Yeah. He even bought me a Bible and I never picked it up. I never think I read it. You know what I mean? I would just say yes unto death and get out to my car, spark a joint and move on. And I did that for 20-something years and I lived a life of hell. You know what I mean? Because I never was able to turn it and change. But now, after 20-something years, what do you think? The only thing I could hear in my head was my brother talking to me saying, read the Bible. There's deliverance. There's freedom. Jesus will set you free. God has all these promises and everything you need is in here, how to live. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to live, man. So I just said, I picked up a Bible, Jerry. It was a Bible at the end of my bed that my mom had sent to me. And I'd sat there for all those weeks that I was there. And I picked it up and I asked the cat next to me, man, I use your glasses there because I can't. I mean, my eyes went south a long time ago. Yeah. I said, let me borrow your readers. So he lets me borrow his readers. I put them on, open the Bible up, I read for like 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Now I can't even comprehend anything because my mind wreck. I can't. There's no. I'm dyslexic on top of that.
Yeah.
So there's. You know what I mean. So I don't even know what I read. You know what I mean? I just read it for a few minutes. I remember shutting the Bible, and being like, "All right, man." I picked it up. I'm trying to get that voice out of my head, man. I thought I was going crazy. Put the Bible down. Now, all of a sudden, Jerry, the Lord speaks to me again, not through my brother's voice, but through my conscience. Now, I myself haven't worked out in over a decade, but I remember when I work out hard, what happens, Jerry, when you work out hard?
You feel better.
You push yourself.
You feel better.
You
The
feel
endorphins,
better.
you feel better. You get the sense of self-fulfillment, the everything that comes along with it. Yeah.
I didn't feel so good, man. And I just thought to myself, if I could go work out. But now what I had to face was, I'm like the laughing stock of these convicts there because they all found out I was Mr. America. And I wasn't Mr. America no more, man. I was Mr. Has-Been convict. I was a number. I was just like them, man. I was a washed up and I was nobody doing nothing, going nowhere. Well, for me to go work out, man, I had to go back in this workout room where it'd be like 15 guys working out, all jacked up, who've been there for years doing thousands of push-ups a day and 30 sets of 30 on the pull. I mean, these dudes were jacked up, man. They had their gang music playing, not gang music, rap music playing in there. And there's, you know what I mean? The Lord told me, he said, go work out. My conscience like, go work out. Now, man, I was like, I had the devil and the angel, you know what I mean? The angel's like, saying, work out. And the devil's like, no, you don't want to go. You know, I'm fighting with my, I'm like, I can't do this, Lord. And God's like, go. And I was like, no, I'm fighting with God now. And I kept hearing go. And I kept saying no. And then finally I got this sense of peace and courage came over me like a cloud. It just sat on top of me. It's like all of a sudden I felt like the Lord's like, I'm going to go with you. Like I knew that moment when I went back there, I wasn't going to be alone. So I got my sorry butt up out of the rack, put a pair of shorts on, put my sneakers on, went back to that room by myself in the corner like a little scared kitten with a den of wolves, frightened to death because I couldn't even do a push-up. What kind of workout am I going to do?
Right.
I couldn't do push-ups. I got down. I did, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 push-ups. I'm like, man, this is pathetic and sorry. Got up and did 10 jumping jacks. Did it again. Couple sets, 2 or 3 rounds. Went back to my rack. I was like, you know what? I must have released a half of endorphin or something because I felt like a 10% better.
Right.
Not 10%. 1% of 10%. I mean, whatever percent that is, like 1% better. I don't. You figure out the math. And I felt like I was like, man, you know what I mean? I didn't feel great. Of course I didn't. I was still broken, still hopeless. But something came over me that thought, you know what? I could get through this day today. Go take a shower, make something to eat. When you depressed, sorry cat. Yeah. So I did, man. I took a shower, made something to eat, went to sleep. Got up the next day and sat there in my mind and said, well, you know what? I made it through a day. Maybe I should try that again. So, Jerry, I picked up the Bible again. I read it for 5 or 6 minutes. Went back there and just tried to do a little bit more. You know what, Jerry? 9 months later, baby.
Progression.
I was running that joint. I was working out for 4 hours. I was doing P90X, Insanity. I was doing things that people would never heard of doing in there. But every day I woke up, I picked up my Bible, I spent time with Jesus, and I went and worked out. And I did that 3 times a day because I had 3 different breaks a day where I could work out because I was in the honor dorm. So I was able to get back in this gym 3 different times a day. They had it open for 2 hours. And I went back there. I lost 100 pounds in 9 months. I was doing thousands of push-ups every 2. I mean, I was just doing it all, man. I could run 10 miles. I couldn't even walk 10 yards. Right. I was getting my money in there, bro. I was getting that cheese, baby. I was feeling good physically and spiritually, man. I was on top of the world. I remember one day, Jerry, because God was showing me in the Bible who I really was now. He doesn't tell me I was a convict, and he didn't say I was a number. He was telling me I was his son. And he called me a masterpiece, and he said I was his workmanship. And he told me that I was beloved, and he called me a friend. And I'm reading this every day, and I'm like, well, I don't care what you guys say. I care what he says because he's a lot bigger than you. You know what I mean? So I was getting that into my heart, man. I was believing it. I was receiving it. The prison system, they were picking me up and taking me to the high schools all over the place, okay? Having me tell my story to all these high schools. I go in there with 500, 1,000 kids in the auditorium. They give me a mic and I tell them my story about. Now I ain't got no backstory. I just got a story about being a pro bodybuilder and I'm a convict now. Right. You know what I mean? What drugs will do to you. So I don't got all this crazy good stuff going on yet. That's the story. You know what I mean? That's the after. I was just telling about the before, how bad it was. You know what I mean? So, and man, I was running fitness programs in my dorm. I was doing Bible studies with inmates. I was just trying to give back, man. God was giving to me, and I was just giving it back now. And that's how I learned how to live in prison, man. I was putting Jesus first, others second, and myself last. When you put J for Jesus, others, and then yourself last, what do you get? J-O-Y.
Joy. Interesting.
Joy.
Man. That's
joy,
crazy.
baby. Getting joy in prison because I was putting Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. I was experiencing joy in there, a happiness I never felt in my entire life, and I'm locked up in prison. I remember every time I would look out that prison yard, I would look at that 20-foot fence with razor wire and guards walking around with shotguns, and I used to say to myself, man, this sucks. And I think I got to do this for another 2 years. I got to do this. But you know what? I knew I was getting by every day.
Yeah.
I remember one day, man, I was about 1.5 years into my sentence, and I looked out that fence, and it like disappeared, man. Because the Lord told me, he goes, man, you're free right now. You ain't locked up no more. You don't got shackles. You don't got strongholds and bondages anymore. You're free. I set you free. My word set you free. You're delivered from drugs. When you get out of here, you can go get your life back. And that's in prison where God gave me my vision, where I got this ministry jacked up for Jesus and the things I do today. I travel in the last 3 months, I think, or 4 months, I've been in like 13 prisons all over Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Texas. I'll go back into prisons now, Jerry, and I tell these inmates, man, God is good, bro. And I tell them my story, and I tell them the kind of life I have today.
Man, the things that you're saying, man, they're not just powerful. Like, I mean, like, to put it in this perspective, your rock bottom was when you were finally in prison. To think of all the things that you went through, it took that point to be rock bottom. And then finally, you ask out to God, you finally meant it. That's why he answered. It wasn't just in fleeting. You actually felt it. You meant it, and that's when it happens, right? But what's also crazy interesting is prison was a better experience for you than being on the outside addicted to drugs. Prison
Can I tell you something?
Became a better experience.
I had a 3-year mandatory prison sentence, and I'm going to tell you another story because I'm a storyteller. I got all kind of stories for you. Let me know how we're doing on time.
We got 37 minutes here.
Oh, we're in 37 minutes already? How long are we allowed to go?
It doesn't matter. I mean, we can stop at about 40 because this is like, it's just, I can't even talk. I'm listening to you. I don't know if you can see the look on my face. I'm watching you going, holy, like, this is powerful stuff. You know, I think part of it's the way you tell it. But yeah.
So, I'm in prison. I had a 3-year mandatory sentence. All right. Means you can't get out early. Can't get good time. Can't get a judicial release. Can't get transitional control. Can't get nothing. You got to do all 1,095 days. Okay. Now, because I gave my life to God. See, I was going to tell you this. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. The 2 years and 7 months I did in prison were the best 2 years and 7 months of my life till I got out. Now, of course, since I got out and I met my wife and I have the life I have today, that's better. But up till the day I got locked up, even better than my childhood, because I didn't know God during my childhood. And I didn't experience the fullness of God. I didn't experience the relationship and the peace and the joy that came with Jesus. So when I was locked up and I got past those first few months and I started doing my thing, best years of my life, man. I'm serious, man. My prison sentence was my salvation. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I had to do it over again, I'd do it over again, man. So anyways, 3 years, mandatory prison sentence. This is how God shows up in people's lives when they are obedient and they give their life to him. When you give your life to God and you're obedient, you live for him. You don't just make him part of your life. You make him your life. You build your life around him. You don't just put him in on Sundays and do it. You make him your life. And that's what I did with God. And he knew it. He gave me a vision and he knows my future. So he knows everything I'm going to be doing today. So he said, I believed he was really pleased with me. Well, I'm not allowed to get out early. All of a sudden, I'm in prison. And back in the day, when I'm in there, all of a sudden they come out with this thing called 80%. If you do 80% of your time, you could go to the parole board, plead your case. And if the parole board gets past him, you go to the warden and he's got to sign off. And then goes to the director of the state and he's got to sign off. Then goes back to your judge and he's got to sign off. Okay. Now, meanwhile, I got a mandatory prison sentence. Nothing on my side. My judge, they called him the hanging judge. He never let anybody out early. It just doesn't happen. Anyways. So I'm in there and everybody's applying for this. Hundreds of guys are going before the Parole Board and nobody is getting it. Nobody's getting this 80%. And I'm like, man, I'm telling myself, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get it. I know God's going to set me free, and he's not going to do it for me. He's going to do it because it's going to bring glory to him. He's going to show people how when you live for him, the anointing comes over and the favor of God comes over your life. Well, I go in the prison board and they ask me a couple of questions. Usually you're in there for 15 minutes and then deliberate for 2 weeks and they give you your answers no. Okay. Well, I go in there. They asked me a couple of questions. I think I spoke for like 30 minutes, man. I just went off on them, man. I gave and they said, "Where's your certificates?" And meanwhile, you need to show them all the drug programs and all these certificates that you did to show why all the good work you did in there. I opened up a folder and I didn't have one, not one certificate. I didn't have one because I didn't do no programs. I did me. I did me and the Holy Spirit. And then I started giving back and doing Bible studies, but those weren't state programs. Those are just something I was doing, man. So I went in there and I told him my thing. I said, here's my 1 year plan, my 3 year plan, my 5 year plan. This is what I'm going to do. Whether you let me out early or not, this is my life. This is what I'm going to do. And I talked to him and finally this is, Mr. Santoiello, you can shut up now, man. Because we'll let you out. We're going to let you out early. I'm like, what? They go, yeah, we're signing off right now. We don't need to deliberate. We all decided that you don't need to be here no more. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. I was like, praise the Lord. I went to my warden. I went to his desk that day. Now, Mr. Warden Buchanan, I got his phone number on my cell phone today. We're close. We're like that. My warden is a good man, and he's seen the good work I was doing there. He's a Christian, and he knew my heart. He knew how I was living. He's like, yeah, signed off to me, went to the director. 3 weeks later, went to my judge. Now, meanwhile, I'm like, all right, well, I got this far, but I'm going to go down there. And everybody's like, well, you think you're going to get out. Well, Judge says he's going to send you back. So I rehearsed this thing, man. I got to get before the judge and I got to tell him why he's got to let me out. I rehearsed it, man. I went over it 100 times in my mind. I remember getting down there, getting before my judge. He opens up the folder and he goes, Mr. Santoiello, the state of Ohio wants to let you out early. Who am I to contend?
Wow.
I was like, what just happened? I said, what just happened? He goes, you're going home today.
Just like that.
Just like that. I was the first one in the state of Ohio to get that early release out of 50,000 inmates. Okay? Now, this is God, bro. Check it out. I had $15,000 fines over my head. And because of this early release, I had to do 5 years of probation instead of 3 years of PRC. So 2 years intense and 3 years not intense. And then I had $15,000 fines I had to pay before I got off probation. Check this out, Jerry. 1 year, not one piss test, not intense probation. 1 year, my probation officer says, you know what, I want to get you out of here, but we got to get these fines released. So he wrote a letter to my judge asking to have my fines forgiven. $15,000 fines gone. I'm off probation in 1 year.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So you were already out, right? You already been released and you were out for that 1 year, correct?
Yeah, I was supposed to do 5 years and pay $15,000 to get off probation. Yeah. In 1 year, they let me go, and they forgave my fines. Man, they don't do that.
I mean, you must have been like, this is the final chance. Like, you're not going to get another chance like this. If you screw this up, like, you deserve whatever happens. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. Like, this is your final test. You're given a clean slate, a second chance. Here you go. You know? So what did you feel at that point? Were you just like, not just shocked, but were you just ready to roll?
You know what the crazy thing is I don't want to sound cocky or nothing, but I know my God and what was going on. I know how good my God is, and this is what he does for his children he loves. This is the kind of favor he gives you. And Jerry, in my heart, I'm going to tell you, bro, it's been 8 years. July 6, 2011 is my clean date, man. I have not done a drug, and I have no plans to do it because God has given me a purpose and a vision and a life. He's gave me the most beautiful woman in my life, a beautiful baby, a ministry, a business that thrives. I mean, I'm blessed, bro. Yeah. I mean, before Jesus, I was self-centered, selfish, cursed, lost, empty, and spiritually dead. Today, after Jesus, I'm not self-centered anymore. I do my best to be selfless. And I'm Christ-centered today. I'm not selfish anymore, okay? I'm not lost. I've been found and forsaken. Today, I'm a child of God. I'm not empty inside. I'm full of joy, and I'm no longer cursed. Today, I'm blessed. I am who he says I am. I'm the son of a king, bro. And I live my life knowing that, and I've given my life to his duty and his purpose. And I do not ever want to use a drug again because I forgot what it feels like to be high. Right. I get high every day, man. I do. I get high you know what it feels like to be high sober? I go to the gym and I got my little 45 minutes where I pound my weights and I get my I play my worship and praise music and I get my spiritual endorphins going and my physical endorphins going. And I'm spent, bro. I come home, I'm high as a kite.
Yeah.
And it's no drug, not drug induced. It's Holy Spirit and physical induced.
Well, now you know who the real Franco is. The real Franco wasn't that bodybuilder. It wasn't that guy. And you go through this stuff as a kid and stuff like that. It shapes who you become as an adult, but it's not who you are. It's just things that have happened to you. You still have control over it, but like you said, at this point, you feel high on life because you're being Franco, the real Franco, the guy with the good hearts. Because just because you did bad things back then didn't mean you were a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bad people do good things.
I wasn't a bad guy. I was always a good guy. I just did a lot of bad stuff.
Right.
But see, today I get to fulfill my purpose. See, I always thought my purpose was to be Mr. Olympia.
Right.
But see, that was never my purpose. Because, Jerry, if I would have done the drugs that it took to get there, all the GH and all them steroids, and I would have got there, and I think I could have won. I know I said last time I would have smoked them all, but that was arrogant of me. I take that back. I was very good, Jerry. And the magazines, and they said I had the potential to be Mr. Olympia. I had that kind of symmetry and that aestheticness in the lines. You know what I mean? Flex Wheeler, look how great he was. Yeah. When I won the Nationals, he took fourth to me. Porter Cottrell, IQ Gurley, all those guys. Sean Ray, I beat as a teenager. I mean, these are the greatest in the world, and I was beating them on dope, drugs. But if I wasn't a drug addict and I had done all them other stuff with my heart and all that, I don't think I would have made it, Jerry. Yeah. I think I would have been addicted to winning, and I would have let them drugs take me out. I probably would be, because a lot of bodybuilders in my time are gone, man.
Yeah.
A lot of bodybuilders in my era are gone.
I mean, you didn't chase. I chased the pro card for 20 years. 20 years, I was on the national level. I was banging away. And I never turned pro. At one point, I just looked at it and I said, this is not for me anymore, because I knew the drugs are going to wear on me. And when I stopped, I kind of, I was actually with my wife at the time. We were dating. And it wasn't until years later she said, not turning pro is the best thing that ever could have happened to you. And I said, why? She goes, because look how intense everything was. Imagine if you turned pro. Imagine if you were chasing the Olympia, Franco. You would have pushed that envelope more and more. And like you said, I guarantee you that I wouldn't be here right now and you wouldn't be here right now if that plan that we wanted, of course, God has another plan. We don't know why we go down these things, but I guess the things that we go through are just to learn about ourselves. And I don't think people don't realize that. It's not learning about the world or about bodybuilding. It's about learning ourselves and who we are and what we're made of. And eventually, hopefully, we find that out, and then we can, let that out to the world, which is, what's happening now, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful that you're sharing this stuff. And you're an amazing storyteller. Like, to have me shut up for 30 minutes and not speak is very hard to do, because I always have something to say. And I'm sitting there going... I looked at myself in the camera. I said, "Dude, you look like a weirdo. Like, you're just sitting there staring, because I'm listening, going, this is the way you tell it is very intense, because there's feeling behind it, because you felt it, you lived through it, and you're giving the whoever's watching this the feeling of what it was like to be there, man. Thank you so much."
There's so much more to it, the after. But you know what? The cool thing is when I told that cybergenics lie, the millions of people that bought into that lie. You know what I mean? And today with the CBN and the RX Muscle and your podcast and all these interviews I've done, millions of people have heard the truth now.
Yeah.
And Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He's the way to the Father. He's the truth about the Father, and he's the life of the Father. And just one word before I go, Jerry. There's a lot of guys that are listening to this, bodybuilders, fitness people, and I don't knock bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding. I loved the career I had in bodybuilding, even though I was a dope addict, but it was great, man. It was a fun run, but I just know that there's a lot of bondages in there. There's the drugs that you take, and you get into the painkillers, and the pride and the ego that sets in. I'm not saying every bodybuilder is a sinner, but I'm saying it's not a good life. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad life, right, Jerry, but there's a lot of stuff that we do that we don't like about ourselves when we do it. You know what I mean?
It can nurture bad things. It can facilitate and nurture bad things.
The pornography, the sex, the women, all that stuff. It's all in there, man. I mean, let's not lie. Let's not fool ourselves. There's a lot of that going on in there. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening to me right now, and you're broken, man. And maybe you don't have a lot of hope in your life anymore, and you feel like it's a dark place, man. But it's not, man. That's the enemy's job. He came to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus came to give us a life that's abundant, man. That's full of joy and peace, man. You can't get joy and peace outside in the world, because it's not there, Jerry. Joy and peace can only be found in God. And that's what I have today. And, you know, if anybody's broken or hurt and hopeless, man, all you got to do is do like I did. Say, Jesus, help me. Come into my life. I want to do things differently, but I can't do it on my own power. I need help. That's what I got to say, Jerry. Thank you for having me
Thank
on
you
your
so
show,
much,
bro.
man. I'd like to have you on at least one more time and talk about Jack for Jesus and how, you know, you created that, what it is. We'll do that one next. But this one,
I got 100 more stories.
we might be able to just do a
Man,
regular segment and just be like, have Franco story time after all this is done. You know, one story after another. 'Cause
yeah.
we got a super good response from it. And again, like you're just saying, like people need to hear the real stories. You know, not stuff that's made up by a pen thing for a magazine or, you know, trying to save their. I mean, the stuff you're saying is full of humility. It's full of depression. It's full of anxiety, but it's real. You know what I mean? Like you can hear it speaking from your voice. You can hear it and feel it, man. Nothing's more powerful than to hear something coming from the word or the mouth of somebody who's experienced with. Now you have wisdom. You had knowledge when you were younger, but now you have wisdom that you've gone through these things. And, you know, again, I just appreciate it. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there and they probably wouldn't say, okay, just run wild, but I don't care. Like, this is just kind of my thing. Like, I want truth.
Yeah.
I want real. I want the realest thing that we can put out there. So thank you again, man. And we're going to do this again, Franco. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself, bud.
Take care. Peace.